For the beauty of the earth, for the beauty of the sky, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies, over and around us lies. Source of all to thee we raise this our grateful hymn of praise. What a planet, huh? What a planet, huh? What a home. What a wondrous, beautiful, inspiring, miraculous, complex, creatively diverse, beautiful marvel of a home that we have. Amen? Amen? Gosh, don't you feel it this morning already? Well, I was gifted the wonderful privilege, the great delight to feel it anew this summer while I was away. It's good to be back, by the way. Very good to be here with you all this morning. Some I saw last Sunday, but some I'm seeing for the first time here today. But I had the chance to go to one of the most beautiful parts of our country, the Pacific Northwest. Have some of you all spent some time out there? Anyone? I know, Kate, you did. Yeah? Some folks. Okay, a lot of folks need to go check this out because it is something else. I went to Olympic National Park, one of our most pristine and diversely tremendous national parks that we have. It's amazing how little often it is visited. In this same park, I camped for 3 nights under the canopy of an old-growth forest, right as that forest met the beach of the Pacific Ocean, surrounded by magnificent rock formations towering above and way out at sea, surrounded by tide pools filled with anemones and starfish of colors I didn't know existed in nature, and colors that I saw at sunset. Oh my God, purples like I never knew could be a part of the sunset, turning the whole ocean and sky together, this like mauve. It was amazing, truly. And in that same park, you can hike in rainforests filled with towering spruce pine trees and the bottom filled with moss and, oh, what's that beautiful plant that I'm thinking of? Ferns. You got it. Ferns. Oh, my goodness. And you can go to the jagged, snow-topped, heavenly peaks of the Olympic National Mountains themselves, as I did, climbing above alpine line and bagging a few peaks. Oh, I can't even tell you. And this was all before I got to the Portland area and went into the Columbia River Gorge, the incredible waterfalls present there, got to hike around the Pacific Crest Trail that goes around Mount Hood. I mean, it was quite a summer. And I went back home to Boston, where I got to swim in my favorite swimming hole in the entire world. Anyone have a guess what that might be? Walden Pond. The pond that Henry David Thoreau also thought was pretty special and lived by and learned by living by and wrote about in his book, Walden. So, I had a pretty wonderful opportunity to reconnect with this incredible earth. But it makes me curious, though, about some of the places that you hold particularly special to you, that you treasure. Maybe some you've recently spent to, maybe some here in Oklahoma I don't know about. So call them out. I want to hear. What are the places that you treasure? And I'll repeat them up here. Natural Falls State Park. The Grand Tetons, my goodness. Chickasaw. Spokane, Washington. The Ozark Springs. Illinois River. Glacier Park. Tall Grass Prairie. I was wondering when that was going to come up. Come on. Yeah. What's that? Wichita Mountains. I haven't seen those yet. I am so excited to see those this year. It's just one of the many more good reasons I'm still around. So it's just so easy to celebrate. Isn't it wonderful how natural a response it is to the world to celebrate it like that, and the power that you can feel in that celebration. It makes me think of this wonderful children's book I just wanted to tell you all about by a Native American author, Bird Taylor. This goes back to the 80s, although I only discovered it more recently. But it's about a woman, a young girl, but probably basically Bird Taylor herself. She grew up in the Southwest desert, who when asked, "Aren't you lonely surrounded just by the desert out there?" has to laugh, saying, "Are you kidding? I'm in charge of celebrations." And she tells of how she makes it her sacred responsibility to take note of in her journal and to mark and to richly celebrate all the wonder around her. And that's how she's come to have Dustwind Whirlywind Day and Triple Rainbow Day and Coyote Day and the Time of the Falling Stars. It's a wonderful book, and I can connect to it because, I think there are some of us that maybe have this gift of the impulse to celebration even a little bit more strongly. And, then some of us realize, hey, there are some vocations that we can share this impulse through. Hey, there's even one in which I can officially be in charge of celebrations. That's why the ministerial title of celebrant is the one I connect with most. Rabbi Herschel says, "Awe and wonder precede wisdom." So I'm milking the awe and wonder for all I've got. There's a great poet celebrant many of you know, Mary Oliver, who certainly has some wisdom for us. She says, there are only 3 things we really have to do in this life. Pay attention, be astonished, and share our astonishment. Pay attention, be astonished, and share our astonishment. She says, when it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. In her poem, The Sun, she says, have you ever seen anything in your life more wonderful than the way the sun every evening floats toward the horizon out, and then how it slides again out of the blackness every morning on the other side of the world like a red flower? Have you ever felt anything, for anything, such wild love? Do you think there is anywhere in any language a billowing enough word for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out, as it warms you, as you stand there empty-handed? Or have you too turned from this world? Have you too gone crazy for power, for things? I'll marry both. Both. For me, at least, I feel that wild love. And yeah, I've gone a little bit crazy. As it seems, our entire planet community has. How else could we see our planet in the incredible peril of the massive human-induced climate change and do so little to respond or even outright deny it? So that's what I want to delve into with you all this morning, specifically how climate change peril is actually a big wake-up call, a symptom of a craziness that springs from our having somehow turned from our own world, and how reconnecting in sacred relationship with life, with Mother Earth, is not only our only hope to save the planet, but for allowing the planet to save us. So, as many of you probably know, the reason that I planned vacation in the Pacific Northwest was because I was attending the annual General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist, where Marlon was out speaking very well. And this year, the focus of the General Assembly, the justice focus, was on climate change. We do this every year, focus on a particular issue, and I have to say it really actually does impact me to spend an entire week with my focus upon one issue like that and have my heart immersed not only in the pain of the challenge, but also in the possibility, the creative possibility of our work on it together. So I really just wanted to share with you all of now a newly renewed passion growing in my heart around addressing climate change. Because after all, Mary Oliver does say, share your astonishment, and I am newly astonished. Because the world is in such big trouble. And so are we. And we are not responding, not yet, not nearly as much as we will need to meet this crisis. So, even here at All Souls, I realize I probably shouldn't take it for granted that everyone's on the same page here. We are also in Tulsa, I realize. And we can all use a refresher anyway. So I'm going to give a brief 101 on climate change that I believe is totally scientific fact, the best science we have available now. Since the Industrial Revolution, the man-made production of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases has been trapping heat in our atmosphere that previously escaped. As a result, we've been giving our planet a fever. 1 degree this century and the possibility of 3 to up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit raise in temperature in last century, and then this century, that much of a potential raise. And we've managed to do this during what scientists would expect to be a natural cooling period. So oceans are warming, polar ice caps are melting, sea levels are rising fast, 8 inches already since pre-industrial times, and if we continue at this rate, as much as 39 inches in this century. And now even if the world manages to limit global warming to 2 degrees centigrade, the target number for current climate negotiations, sea levels may well continue to rise to up to 6 meters. Hurricanes, as you saw the images in that beautiful video, heat waves, droughts, wildfires, flooding, animal extinctions, disease outbreaks, starvation, and for every one person at risk from coastal flooding in industrial nations like the US that causes most of the climate change greenhouse emissions, there are 30 in less developed countries that are in danger because of their coastal location. Because climate change affects the most vulnerable peoples the most. Anybody ready to change the channel on me yet? I mean, you could be honest, right? You know, anyone feel like, maybe there's any other ministers or other sermon topics we got going on? The point, that's not for, okay. Because it's overwhelming, right? And we can only take in so much horrifying statistical data. And the truth is that this overwhelm, this numb, the kind of inertia that we feel around this is at the heart of the challenge of facing the climate change challenge. Because the problem still feels somehow abstract to us, far away, down the road, somewhere else. Social consciousness is growing, thank God, but the pace of our response is still astoundingly so. And meanwhile, there's still our good old Senator Inhofe off looking for more snowballs, as far as we know, right? Here in Oklahoma, even when the earth literally cries out, shaking us, I'm not happy. 585 earthquakes last year. It took us years and years for our government to even acknowledge what we human beings are responsible for doing to our planet and to ourselves. Joseph Motzfeldt, former Minister of Foreign Affairs for Greenland of the Inuit people, makes this observation. He says, in our Inuit language, we have the same word for weather, climate, as for the human mind, sila. So if you're not taking care of the climate, it might mean that you're out of your mind. Climate change and our failure to mobilize to address it does seem as good an indication of widespread human insanity as any that I know. But rather than just asking one more time, why are we seemingly so crazy, as a rhetorical device, I want to really ask the question. Let's get inside our crazy a little bit, all right? You with me on this? You could be scary in there, right? Why are so many of us consciously or behaviorally in denial about climate change? Why are we not doing everything to save our planet? Why are we not changing everything? Why? I, not changing everything. We could approach this from a lot of angles, get at many truths, but what I want to suggest this morning is that at its most foundational level, for me, I think for most of us, certainly the majority, it seems, of the dominant power holders in our world, it is not personal enough. The crisis is not taking up prime real estate on our hearts. And as amazingly advanced as our cognitive thinking has become, we're still feeling beings that think, not the other way around, right? So if our heart's not tugging at us, it's a decent chance we won't sustain our attention or change our behavior. It's how we're made. But now wait. Why would people like me and many of you who purportedly love nature, we were all here just celebrating it together a few moments ago, feel that the radical and rampant harm to the only environment we have, the only home we have to live upon, isn't personal? As I listened and interacted at GA with many for whom it clearly was very personal, particularly our partner representatives from the Lumi people there who spoke of the threat of a proposed coal terminal to their lands and to the salmon fishing which they depend upon. What hit me anew is that it's not personal enough for me, and probably many of us here, because I'm actually relatively disconnected from the earth, certainly day to day. That is, relative to the way I feel inside I'm meant to be, the way humans before us have been deeply connected in direct relationship to Mother Earth for millions of years, the way other animals and life on this planet, including some humans, still are very much still today. Relative to that, it struck me just how very estranged I and many, many modern humans are from our own home. Just think about the percentage of time we spend indoors. Anyone got a guess on what the average is? Venture a guess. 90%. 90%, that's the average. Think about how many more people that means are above 90% indoors. Our connection with food or lack thereof, produce from our local grocery store chain, whether organic or not, travels on average 1,500 miles to reach our plate. Think about how little that we have to use our own animal bodies to move through space across the globe, crawling, climbing, running, walking, and not on a treadmill. Navigation, we got GPS. Wild animals, Discovery Channel. Even our beloved national parks. Now check me out on this one because I thank God for them, but the imperative to have just a few wild, beautiful places that we actually commit to preserving for recreational human use only, because we cannot trust ourselves to live within these lands in harmony with the rest of nature. Even our precious parks in that way tell the story of our disconnect. And I would argue this disconnect with nature is not disconnected, I don't think, from the pervasive contemporary experience of disconnection from one another. We're nature too. So, of course, this disconnection from full relationship that we're meant to have with our planet and with life upon it makes us slow to feel the pain of climate change and slow to respond. But that's not nearly the whole story. For just as sure as foundational experiences of connection, of interdependent, loving relationship are the alchemy of healthy, happy, meaningful lives, there is possibly no greater source of human pain than the opposite. Disconnection is the root of most of our personal challenges. And it's what makes the most natural of challenges, loss, sickness, that much harder to endure for many of us, or that much more transformed and healing when it is bathed in connection. And as Viktor Frankl explains it, it's also this existential pain we feel amidst disconnection that frequently for humans causes us to vicariously compensate for that by the pursuit of power, the pursuit of resources, you might say. So when we really ask the question, how did we come to be so crazy? We find that our inertia, our failure to feel climate change challenges as personally as we feel we should and respond accordingly, or our capacity to deny it, is but a symptom of the failure to be met in perhaps the most foundational need of all. Now, this reminded me of a powerful parable, a really fun, reimagined telling of the original fall of man that I wanted to share with you all. So, some of you who've been in the point may have heard it before. It reimagines the expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Unitarian Universalist minister was at work at Rethinking Genesis long before our Pope Francis announced his encyclical on the environment and took another look at what dominion over the earth there meant, and thank God that he did join many other Christians in doing that. But here's what Bumbaugh imagined. He went a little bit farther, I think. He says, the great original sin, the primordial evil, the fall, had nothing to do with apples or talking snakes, but rather everything to do with the invention of the wooden back scratcher. Yes, that's right, that simple infernal tool with the wood bent at the end just so that one can reach the unreachable itch. Oh, there, oh no, just a little lower, yes, thank you. Oh no, right there, oh, perfect, yes. Before that simple infernal device, we depended on one another to do for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. Hey, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. But the back scratcher unloosed the ties of community. It dissolved the bonds of reciprocity and tempted us to believe in our own godlike self-sufficiency, our own power to control. So God walks into the cool of the garden, sees a primate standing alone, and says, "What are you doing that you stand alone?" "Well, I've made a back scratcher. Now I need no one." "Poor beast," says God. "Now you must leave the garden. For in Eden, no one stands alone. We all depend on each other to do what we cannot do for ourselves." And thus began our pacing, our wandering the surface of this earth, up and down, pretending at self-sufficiency, all the while feeling this pain, this ache, this yearning for another time. A world in which I scratch my back, you scratch my back, and I'll scratch yours. Because a wooden back scratcher is poor compensation for the gentle touch of a living hand. Amen? It doesn't take much of a stretch to connect Bumbaugh's metaphorical back scratcher and all it represents, the ways that we've traded connection for the pursuit of control, with many, many actual, wonderful, amazing tools and technology that we have created over the years, technology we've used to do amazing things, but that, yes, we have all too often used to shore up our own power, to disconnect ourselves from other life or even harm other life. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, the drill does come to mind. I mean, it's amazing. We can drill 2 miles into the earth and then go sideways to capture natural gases that we turn into oil to power almost anything. It's remarkable. But it is accompanied more and more by this insatiable urge, insistence to drill, keep drilling, even when the earth seems to be crying out, no. And at the same time showing us myriad other ways that we can find the power that we need in harmony with our planet. This human will to power's potential to grip our psyche so completely is what some Native Americans, like Jack Forbes, a Powhatan author and scholar, recognize as the ultimate human ailment. They use the Cree term Wetiko to name it as such, which literally means cannibal, consumer of life, reckless consumer. Forbes says that for the native peoples, Wetiko is what they recognized in the eyes of many of the white men who first came here. So, it seems the problem is in fact a little bit bigger than just massively alarming, nearly unstoppable threats from climate change. It's a very dominant, particularly modern Western way we came to perceive the world and our relation to it as a competition. But for those of you who are thinking, okay, we love him, but he's starting to sound a little bit naive up there. Come on, Darwinism, this is a rough world, survival of the fittest, right? I'm ready for you, okay? Our contemporary, most modern evolutionary science is giving us something new to think about. Lynn Margulis and Dorian Sagan, for example, say that one of life's most important lessons is that species that survive and prosper are ultimately those that find a niche in which they meet their own needs in ways that simultaneously serve others. Furthermore, life has characteristically learned to operate through experiencing the negative consequences of unbridled competition. Quote, one can discern in evolution a repeating pattern in which aggressive competition leads to the threat of extinction, which is then only avoided by the formation of cooperative alliances. How I do hope we too can learn that lesson before we take down our species and countless others. But if our problem is bigger than we ever dared to think, as Morgan Freeman told us, so too is our opportunity now. For we find that the work of healing our environment, which is absolutely imperative, is also the work of healing ourselves. It's the work of healing relationships with each other and with our planet. That is to say, the work of saving our planet is the work of saving our souls, or to put it another way, of letting the earth save us. So, in closing, rather than remind us or exhort us to do what we already know we could and should all be doing to take better care of our planet, I just want to call us back this morning to that foundational, sacred relationship with life, that spirit of life that we feel alive not only in this beautiful sanctuary here, but in the living sanctuary that is our home, and in each and every living sanctuary upon it. I want to call us back to the earth before we return to the dust that's returning to the earth, so that we can receive that blessing, because we need it, and because I trust that this connection will bring us to the commitment that we need far better than any sermon or any mountain of statistics I can throw at you. The commitment that we need to change everything. This week, we draw from the Unitarian Universalist source of earth-centered traditions in our 6-source sermon series. And of all the gifts of spiritual wisdom which earth-centered peoples of this world, including the native peoples of this land, share and can offer to those of us who have forgotten this recognition of the holy in all of life, in animal as in plant, as in mountain, canyon, earth, river, lake, and ocean, is what we so critically need now. Animism, as it's called, the worldview that non-human entities such as animals, plants, inanimate objects possess spiritual essence, has in Western culture been viewed as more primitive as a religious orientation, usually derogatory. But it's hard to assume limiting attribution of spirit to humans to be more evolved. As Vine Deloria explains it, for most Native Americans, the physical world is so filled with life and personality that humans appear as but one minor species, and one badly in need of assistance from the rest of life. The interdependent relationship to the larger whole of life is woven through all they do. This word, animism, itself, it comes from the Latin, anima, for life or soul. So it literally means lifeism. Isn't that what we need? More respect for life, more reverence for the living, for all forms of life, and particularly for this planet, which Native peoples have given such reverence for so long. Maybe to see the earth as alive is a stretch for some of us, but it's this relationship with the planet which made individuals owning land or mining it so unthinkable to Native Americans. Check out these incredible words from Chief Seattle to Franklin Pierce in 1854 on the invitation to purchase their land. How can you buy or sell the sky, the warmth of the land? If we do not own the freshness of the air and the sparkle of the water, how can you buy them? Every part of this earth is sacred to my people. Every shining pine needle, sandy shore, mist in the dark woods, every humming insect is holy. So what change in our lives could we bring if we began to relate to the environment as a sacred, living whole? Truly, a living being. What kind of new and very personal love might that spiritual lens foster between you and your blue planet home? However we come to it, we all must find ways to renew our sacred personal relationship with the earth and all of life. We must fall back in love wildly with this wild world, a love that we feel and live out every day. This is both ends and means, a foundation for motivating our work to heal the world and the source of healing we need to be freed from back-scratcherdom, from our disconnection. How to go about this? How can we close a gap that's become so wide? How can you rekindle a love affair with earth in your life? Pay attention. Be astonished and share your astonishment. Pay attention. Be astonished and share your astonishment. And above all else, allow yourself to love life the way it is in your DNA imprinted to do so. Chief Seattle asks us to do the same. He said to Franklin Pearson, I think to us, so if we sell our land, love it. Love it as we have loved it. Care for it as we have cared for it. And with all your strength, with all your mind, with all your heart, preserve it for your children. And love it as God loves us all. One thing we know, our God is the same God. We may be brothers after all. We shall see. So may it be. Amen. Oh, below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains.
Thanks for tuning in online. We are so pleased with all the different people who have been tuning in from all over the country and all over the world to our ministry and what we're doing at All Souls here in Tulsa. If you have a chance to send me an email or connect with me in some way, let me know what you're finding, why you tune in, and what you're getting out of it. I would love to hear from you. I'm always pleased when I get messages from different people who tell me all kinds of things about the impact of All Souls Tulsa's ministry on them and their lives and their families. And if you get a chance to make a gift to support this ministry, to become a partner, we would love to partner with you and have you be a friend of the church and somebody who is actually supporting us to create this congregation and the world that we're trying to create together. You can be a part of it, and every gift of every amount makes a difference. We really appreciate your support.